parts of New Church theology, Christian New Church perspective, is the idea that our main job is to deliver our best intentions on God's behalf. So we look at those best intentions of our heart. Our job is to use those out there in a spirit of service, asking for God's help and figuring out the ways to allow those to come alive, and the wisdom to figure out how that can work. And today, what I want to talk about is sort of where the beauty of that really can lie, like how it can really start to come together. And it's a story of Isaac and Abraham. And the beautiful part of this story is Abraham goes into this journey feeling like, oh, God's asking me to kill my son, and just crazy perspective, like God would ever actually ask us to do that. So there's this appearance that that's what God is asking, and then at the 11th hour, God says, nope, that's not what I'm actually asking. What he says, and he says this, and he says, and Abraham raised his eyes and looked there, and a ram behind him caught in the thicket by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in its place. So here he thinks like, well, I'm supposed to sacrifice my son. God goes, nope, really, this is actually about sacrificing this ram, and this ram that's kind of caught in the thicket. And I think you folks can just see it's so transparent right there what that internal sense is, what that poetic truth is with that. God's not asking us to sacrifice this deep humanity that we have. That's what Isaac represents, pictures. He's not asking us to sacrifice that deep humanity. That deep humanity is a beautiful thing. And that deep humanity is what we have to continue to cultivate and grow, just in the same way we would raise a child and allow that to have its own life and move forward. What God is asking us to sacrifice is actually this ram caught in the thickets. And the way to think of that, friends, is you think about how much stock sometimes, and where we can sort of overplay it actually, how much stock we put into beliefs, that we just have the right belief system, the right religious belief system, we're all good to go. In reality, what God is most interested in is your intentions, the intentions of your heart. And that's a much more beautiful place to be, because I think a lot of our beliefs, frankly, I think when we find ourselves on the other side, when we find ourselves in heaven, sure, those beliefs are interesting and they're fun to talk about, but they're not like fighting words anymore. They're just beliefs. That's it. They're just thoughts. And thoughts are beautiful things and they're wonderful things. But the real thing that kind of moves our life is not sort of these rational esoteric beliefs, but these deep intentions of our heart to go out there and serve into the world. That is what drives us. That is where God is asking us to go. And the belief parts will start to help to steer that, will start to help to grow that. But the idea of beliefs as the primary thing is just not true. Beliefs are a means to an end. They help us to maybe understand how the dynamics work. They maybe help us to understand how God is at work in our lives, which is always going to be very helpful. But it's not the full point. And that's especially important, friends, like when we come to end of life issues and friends who may be at that point, or family who may be at that point, or, distant relatives who might be at that point, just something you think about. That's really what God is going to care about. And that's really, it's not about like getting them to believe the right thing at the last minute. It's about really trying to help somebody who's coming through that end of lifetime, to really get them to see, what were the best intentions of your heart? And this is a part that is a miracle to me, an absolute miracle to me. And the miracle is this: the absolute miracle is that those good intentions are always present. I've never done a funeral for anybody. I've never worked with somebody in hospice that I couldn't very, very with 100% assurity say, there was a good intention in there. And it might have been sort of clouded over. It might have been something that only a limited number of people saw it. But that's not true for most of us. Most of us are seen by many people in terms of our good intentions. But it means that we can direct the focus there and get off this belief thing that, it's important. Like believing in God, important. Believing in Jesus, important. All that stuff is important. But it's not the full game. It's not the whole point. And that's where Jesus is constantly telling us, and this is a, spirituality 101, I think, constantly saying, follow me, not worship me. Because worship me kind of gets into a belief thing. Follow me, that's life, that's intention, that's how we're moving out there into the world, and that's what we're to follow and do. And boy, it makes life a lot of fun and very, very interesting when we start to look at those intentions. So friends, today, like it's more of a theoretical takeaway, I would imagine. But just if you're struggling, wondering like, how do I get the right beliefs or believe the right things, look at the beliefs and find them and investigate them, find them interesting. I find different belief systems so fascinating. And remember, the name of the game, however, is always the intention. And think for yourself, what is your best intention today? Full stop. What is your best intention today? Could it be a connection with a kid? Could it be a connection with a partner? Could it be to cook a good meal? Could it be a service thing? Could it be to have a good day at work? Whatever it might be, like look at that intention and really try to live from it. And when we live from that intention, it lets go of how it actually lands, because it'll land any number of ways. Some days it'll land really well. Some days it won't. That's all okay. So we just look at it and just go like, yep, there's just the intention. We're going to allow that to go out there in the world. We're going to let go of the results of that because we're just going to live into that intention. And it's a great, great, great place to go into when you're looking at the weekend ahead. So I hope that makes a lot of sense, friends. And with that, what we're going to do is we're going to shift gears. When we shift gears here, what we do is we do a little meditation, a little prayer, a little blessing, and then we say hi to people on social media, specifically on Facebook. So with that, dear friends, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's give a little cheery hello to people who might have joined us over here on Facebook. And my apologies for being a couple minutes late this morning. We're running behind a little bit, so that's all good. Yeah, right. Patty, so well said. Patty writes, good morning. My intention every day is to just be kind. Kindness is loving. And there's a beautiful line, Patty, where Swedenborg says, like, what else is a life of worship but a life of kindness? Life of worship or life of prayer, one of the two, but a life of kindness. I think it's so true. Like, it comes down to just that simple being kind. Very well said. Frank, good morning to you, buddy. I hope you are doing quite well. Flipping over here to New Church Lives. Oops, sorry about that. Flipped over onto the wedding page. We had a great wedding yesterday, by the way, which was really fun. Okay, let's see what this one come on up. Alrighty. Gene, good morning to you, and I hope you have a great weekend as well, my friend. And Marcus, good morning to you, buddy. Hope you have a great weekend ahead with those wonderful boys.